Today we'll be talking about how you can build your more of like your presence, no, presence in the let's say you're building yourself up in the corporate scene. No? Even if, as what my friend said, no, even if you're a nobody, how can you build your profile? How can employers or let's say potential clients, no, notice you, even if you're just trying your way up there? So today, we have a special guest, of course, as what we have told you guys. He's been in the business as a digital solopreneur for a lot of years. We had him before in our one of our events, so that was more than a year ago. And today, he's with us again. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Alan Ngo.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. People can earn money without necessarily having employees.
Okay.
Right? And in our conversations, right, sometimes like having too many people in an organization it's a different skill set.
Correct.
And it's different level of stress.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
a lot of people would like to run their business from home, have the flexibility of being with their family, and make money by teaching what they know. So one-person business, you have to be smart as well because a lot of people don't have like big marketing budgets.
Correct.
So you rely on grit and also partnerships.
Correct.
No, so I think that's where the overlap can be. One of the things as a solopreneur, you don't have a major budget. If you don't know anybody, everybody starts from scratch.
Yes.
So what are the smart ways that you can partner with people who has your audience?
Yeah.
Right? And how can they trust you even if you're just new to the scene? And I've had some experience with that, and I think those things can also help out your audience.
Yeah, well, I'm curious, Alan, no, with I mean, before we go to the, let's just say, the beef of this whole episode, no, I'm more curious about how you started with your journey as a solopreneur.
Right. A great question. For me, I wouldn't say I'm a type A personality that I have this goal and I'll do everything to get it. I think for me, I tend to follow the path. So after taking up accountancy, pass the board exam, my path is to go on audit,
Okay.
go work abroad. But something changed. My friend introduced me to Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
Kind of shifted
Okay.
my
Robert Kiyosaki. Yeah.
Yes, kind of shifted my mindset about money, and
Okay.
probably that's the reason we met before.
Yeah,
The other
yeah,
personal finance. I went into corporate instead, and had a franchise business. Both of them, I think I was too young
Yeah.
to go into both at the same time. I got burned out in corporate.
Mhm.
Eventually, we were too young to handle such a franchise business that's that size. So corporate didn't work out, business didn't work out. So I was in between. Like, I'm not sure what I should do. So during that time, I went to the internet
Yeah.
and see other opportunities. So back then, I got into Odes. Now I think it's Upwork.
Okay.
It's Upwork now, so
Odes pa pala yun before.
Yeah,
Okay.
oo. I got my first freelance
Mhm.
job there. Then I realized, it's possible pala to
Okay.
earn online. Back then, when you say online, it's a scam.
Yeah.
So I realized it's not. Like, there's also valid ways of doing it. But at the same time, I was helping out in our family business that I can't do freelance online. So I found a way that how can I earn money online without using my time?
Correct.
So that's when I discovered like digital products, because I can set up automations ahead of time while I work,
Mhm.
and I can sell digital products there.
Okay.
So that's how it got started, and now I eventually have my own programs.
It's a very humbling story, Alan. And let's say I want to look for a global employer. Okay, just like what we do with Tache, no? So we're helping a lot of people get jobs, no? But I don't know how I can network. Maybe let's go platform by platform. Let's say, okay, I'll go first with LinkedIn. How do you create a good presence and make yourself noticed by potential employers?
A lot about this is looking at it from the employer's perspective.
Okay.
So I think that's perhaps one of the advantage of my experience, that I have some experience as an employee,
Correct.
and also as an employer. This might be an indirect answer, but of course, when we search, right, how do we get noticed? Those are the YouTube videos, the Google search results that we get. It might also help to look at the employer's perspective.
Okay.
How do I find good employees
Mhm.
so that you understand what they're looking for? Because it might be different from what the research results that you're getting.
Mhm.
So there's this one group that I was before, all entrepreneurs,
Okay.
and what they kept telling is, it's hard to find good employees.
Mhm.
Sometimes they would apply, they won't show up for the interview. Like you can understand their issues. So that's one. So I guess that's regardless of platforms. No, and that goes back to the bigger picture, like of what's in it for them.
Okay.
What's in it for them. So when we try to get notice, tendency is we focus on us.
Okay.
Right? How do I improve my profile? How do I look good? Yada yada yada. But if you shift that focus to what can I give them, one of the things that I want to do is to appear on podcasts.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I'm trying to make a more bigger presence abroad. So
Mhm.
I guess that's the equivalent of folks watching this wanting to get noticed globally, right? So I'm in the same boat. And there are Facebook groups there that, hey, we're looking for guests, then here's the application
Right.
form. So me, starting out, so I don't have that much of a track record abroad.
Mhm.
So I filled out the form, but I did something different. I'm looking at it from the podcast host perspective. I'm
Mhm.
going through all these applications. It's boring. What I did was, on top of just answering the form, I filmed a video
Okay.
answering the form. The host, in this case, the podcast host, was an ex-photographer. I took my photos, my awards,
Okay.
and I gave her 3 reasons why I should be a good guest.
Okay.
So first, I appealed to her photographer self.
Okay.
Second, shared a bit of my story. So I showed her that it's 2:34 a.m. I'm filming this. I'm the type of person who gets what he tries. When I want something, I'll do my best
Yeah.
to get it. If that's the type of person you want as a guest, then I think we'll be fine.
Okay. Okay.
So she was telling me that that video made an impact.
Mhm.
Even if she doesn't know me, even if she didn't look at my background, it created an impression
Mhm.
for her. So I think I did that because I was looking from her perspective
Okay. Okay.
rather than impressing her with my background, my skill set.
Correct.
Right. So I guess regardless of like the platform, that's also something that we can do. Now with LinkedIn in particular, since sometimes we can't just reach out to people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
One thing we can do is be active on their comment section, adding your own perspective. One thing that we have to be conscious about is we're not just there to say good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You want to add to the conversation
Okay.
because what people are looking for in the comments is people with their own thoughts,
Okay.
right? So if they talked about perseverance, maybe you can share a short story about your perseverance,
Correct.
or maybe show how you. And something that we have to keep in mind, it's not only the person who's posting.
Yeah.
The other people who are posting, you can also comment on their posts. You'll be noticed easier. That's the reason they added at everyone,
Mhm.
so that they could use this person mentioned you. Because when
Okay.
we're mentioned, you feel special. On top of the person, maybe try to engage also the comments,
Yeah.
so that you can strike a conversation, because sometimes the opportunity, a lot of it is opening doors,
Okay.
and
Okay.
not all doors are the same. But you'll also never know which door is the right one. That's one of also the approach
Okay.
in terms of getting noticed. Just
Okay.
building that connection.
You know what I learned from what you said is that if you want yourself to be noticed, you have to show value to the people that you're trying yourself to be noticed with.
Right.
No? So parang laging ganun eh, no? So what's in it for me?
Mm.
So you have to answer that on the side of the employer. What's in it for them? If I get to hire you, what will I get from that? No?
Right.
So I think that's what I learned there. Second is doing your research as well about the people that you're trying to top with. And the third will be, let's say, you'll get a pile of resumes, CVs. So in the eyes of an employer, they're all the same.
Right.
It's just a matter, sometimes nga, it's just a matter of luck na lang. Okay.
I could have told him that I've been doing emails for 10 years.
Correct.
I could have done X figures in launches.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to put myself out. I'm showing him how I can be helpful. Of course, that takes a bit more effort than just giving tips.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it also shows you how easy it is to to get noticed. Literally, what I gave him was something he can copy and paste, which is
Okay.
infinitely easier than thinking of an idea. If somebody asks a question, rather than giving him an answer, maybe he can say, hey, you can try this. So I think that approach, like how can I make their lives easier?
Mm-hmm.
It's an easy way for you to stand out, even if you're a nobody.
Yeah.
Because if you give them something that's super useful, they'll be interested in who you are.
We're trying to tell people that we're not talking about your work experience. We're talking about how you can give value to the people by you creating that genuine approach, no? Yung iba kasi it's very general. A lot of times, diba, when you're trying to build your career up, the go-to platform will always be LinkedIn. Are there opportunities still in Facebook in terms of building your career, for example?
With Facebook, I guess at the end of the day, it would depend on where your target audience is at,
Yeah.
right? So it's just understanding how do you apply the same thing
Yeah.
in that platform. I wouldn't necessarily say there's a different approach to it. I'm not sure how prevalent groups are
Yeah.
in LinkedIn, but I know Facebook has a big community.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So Facebook group communities, for example, there are groups for startups. So how can you apply the same thing to them?
Yeah.
Right? How can you apply the same thing if somebody is asking like, what are the best suppliers for production? They want to outsource the production of their supplements, for example.
Okay.
Maybe you could give them a list and contact numbers of those
Yeah.
folks. Depends on what role you want to get. Looking to land a sales job or a procurement manager. On top of the person asking the question,
Yeah.
there are a lot of eyes looking at you.
Yeah. Okay.
They're not noisy. They don't comment.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us like read posts but don't comment, right?
Mhm.
The same applies here. Just because you give them the information doesn't
Okay.
mean they know what to do with it. So that's also something you need to keep in mind. There's an invisible audience, regardless of platform,
Yeah.
that you must be conscious about. People who engage won't always be the one who will hire you,
Yeah.
right? So there's always folks who behind the scenes are decision makers who don't necessarily engage but are looking.
There's this one feature for Facebook that you can build your profile like a business profile.
Okay.
So is this one thing that is also a must if let's say you're trying to build your presence in, let's say, looking for a global employer, or you're building yourself up as a solopreneur?
I guess it would depend on how seriously you'd like to take it.
Mm-hmm.
So my profile does have that. I think what the advantage of that is just getting more data
Correct. Okay,
available
okay.
for you. I wouldn't say that's necessary
Okay.
per se, unless you're building perhaps your brand. So you're very
Okay.
conscious of what you post.
Okay.
But if it's for outreach, it can help if they look at your profile. I think a bigger needle mover, if you're serious with Facebook, is to make a decision who your audience is. If you're trying to build your Facebook profile for potential employers, your content must be relevant to them. A bigger needle mover for me is like making sure you're intentional about what you post.
Okay.
Right? Intentional about what you post. Because if you have a business account but your posts are all over the place, it wouldn't really help.
So find a niche, and once you find that niche, you need to be consistent in that field that you have chosen.
For folks who say that email marketing is dead, you can always look at it two ways.
Yeah.
You can be offended by it, or you can accept that some people see it that way. And that's fine with me. Like,
Yeah.
less competition, right? But in order for people to take advantage of email, they
Yeah.
have to believe in it first.
Okay.
Like, algorithm changes all the time. So when we play by other platforms' rules, they change the rules while you're playing the game.
Correct.
With emails, you are creating your own Facebook. You are
Okay.
creating your own IG. Anyone, like for us as personal brands, as employers, we want to build our business on stability.
Okay.
Right? It would be crazy to like build on something like anytime, any day. People say that email is dead, but if you see the action of these people,
Yeah.
right, they can see how important it is to have
Yeah.
emails. So that's one. Then for you, how do you use it if you're building your own list?
Yeah.
Right? It goes back again with demonstration. Right? So if I build, for example, the guy that I help out with emails,
Correct.
right? I wrote him an email. In our conversation, hey, I have X number of years doing emails,
Yeah.
and I share my best advice in my newsletter. Would you like, I could grab the link for you. Would you like to join? I can share tips. I can do more demonstration there.
Okay.
I opened up a course on how to do these emails, or I sell these templates.
Yeah,
I know that sometimes you don't feel like writing. These can help you out.
If let's say that they want to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you? And maybe some final tips to those who are looking for opportunities, even if they're just starting.
Ultimately, the biggest, I guess, needle mover is really patience.
Okay.
You have to understand that things take time, and your state, the way you approach matters.
Yeah.
Because people can sense if you're desperate. So having that mindset before you reach out affects the words that you use, affects the energy of your message, and always be helpful. I think
Yeah.
it's, if anything, how can you be helpful?
Yeah.
Rather than how can I elevate my profile? How can I be helpful? And the rest will take care of itself. For me, if you're interested to know more about what we do, especially if you're into like building your solopreneur brand, we can help you build a business around that. You can just go to digitalsolopreneur.com and we'll take care of you.
All right. So again, thank you so much, Alan, for those fruitful tips. I know that our audience learned a lot today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.